It's getting to be that time of the church year, as is the case every year. As we get to the end of the year, which ends right before the first Sunday of Advent, the church kind of takes us into the end times a bit. And so we have more of a focus, as we heard in the readings today, on the end of the world, the apocalypse, heaven and hell. I personally feel kind of lucky to be a Catholic Christian, because it seems as though there are so many other Christian groups and Christian denominations that are so intent on looking for the last times, predicting when the Lord will be coming again. And you know as well as I do that there have unfortunately been many, many groups who have been so caught up in that it became destructive to them. One of my favorite authors, an Irish priest, he said, "How can we think about end times when we're always just beginning?" What he meant by that is, like, just beginning. God is always renewing us, reinventing us, if you will, forgiving us, giving us new opportunities. But we can get so caught up and so worried. How's it all going to end? In the Gospel of Luke was written around the year 80. Okay, so roughly 50 years after Jesus' resurrection actually took place. 50 years before it was actually written down. And probably 10, 12 years before that, much of what it says Jesus predicts will happen, in fact, did happen. When the Romans destroyed Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, leveled the city to the ground, when the persecutions began, it was just as in the story Jesus predicts. So it's almost like in telling the story of Jesus, they had the actual events to reflect on. But the future, it's beyond us. Heaven and hell, where we as a church have spent an awful lot of time, and many of you say as you were growing up, focus so much on the fear of hell, the fear of punishment. One of my professors in the seminary was talking to us, and he says, "Gentlemen, don't give them hell. give them heaven. And for many of them, that will be hell enough. How sad that is. We have grown up with our childhood fears, the fears that were drilled into us very effectively in many cases. Let me tell you about hell. A German missionary in Africa went home on leave and came back with a fine set of large colored pictures to illustrate his sermons. They were a great success. Every Sunday after the sermon, the natives rushed to the pictures, or in that case, the picture for the week, and discussed it with excitement. One day, the sermon was on hell. The natives seemed very impressed, and the priest went off to breakfast, hoping that the picture of the lost souls would set his message firmly in their minds. But before he even got inside his house, he heard screams of delight and laughter, and turned around to see his congregation dancing with glee in front of the picture of hell. Very indignant, he strode back to the crowd. "Silence! How dare you make all of this noise? Hell is not a laughing matter." One of the natives gently took him by the arm up to the picture. He said, "Don't you see, Father? Look. All the people in hell are white." We have gotten so ingrained in fear that we have in many ways lost sight of who God is according to what Jesus has taught us. And so I have shared this with this parish many times, but I think it bears repeating. I think when the time comes, I'm going to have it etched on my gravestone, which means I guess I'm going to have to pay for a really big gravestone. But anyway, this is a quote from Father Eugene Walsh. God, our God, is a life-giving God, a loving God. For us, he is nothing else. God loves us, all of us, all people, without reservation or exception. God never stops loving us. God loves us when we are in sin just as much as when we are out of sin. We cannot win God's love. We cannot lose God's love. His covenant words uttered on Sinai for his chosen people stand firm forever. I am your God. You are my people. I have chosen you. I choose you. I will save you. I will never let you go. So to our catechumens and candidates, to our children, as well as our adults, all of us, no matter how long we have been trying to practice and grow in our faith, This is what it's about. We're all on a journey of growth, a journey to the fullness of the kingdom. It shouldn't be a journey of fear and intimidation, but of openness, of hope, of respect and companionship. We don't need to be afraid. The cross of Christ tells us that in the end, all things will work out God's way.